Hey guys, welcome back to Self-Care Haven. Today I'll be sharing some short self-care tips for abuse and trauma survivors. The first tip is to meditate. Now, if you haven't meditated before in your life, I really recommend sitting in on a group meditation. Google or Yelp a meditation center near you and find a way to sit in on a group so that when you're on your own, you know what to do. And there's no real strict guidelines for meditation in terms of it's really individualized when you're meditating on your own. And there's so many different types of meditation out there. If you YouTube videos on meditation, you'll find so many different topics, themes, and styles. Some will incorporate music, some will just ask you to focus on your breath, some will ask you to visualize things, some will incorporate positive affirmations or mantras. Others are guided healing meditations, which I really recommend for abuse survivors. I actually have one on my channel, but there's plenty more out there, and I really recommend just doing a simple YouTube search and finding one that suits you and your needs. If anything, it's going to calm you down, it's going to relax you, it's going to give you a reprieve from those ruminating thoughts and overwhelming emotions that you may be struggling with in the aftermath of an abusive or a toxic relationship or other source of trauma. So I really recommend meditating, and remember that it has been scientifically proven to have effects on the brain and how we regulate our emotions, how we respond to the fight or flight response, and basically how our mind processes stress. And so once you've been meditating for a while, and if you've made that a daily practice, you will have that added benefit of being calmer, just as a result of training your mind to take that short break. So even if you start out with just 5-minute meditations every day when you wake up in the morning, or right before you're going to sleep, or perhaps during your lunch break, focusing on your breath, it can really have added benefits within the coming years, within the coming months, and you might even see immediate results because you've had that reprieve, you've given yourself that time to calm down and relax, and give yourself that break. I mean, of course, we're not going to stop our thoughts. Thoughts can't really stop, but we can at least sit with them and really just take an observing stance instead of being really reactive to what's going on in our environment. And I really recommend it. I think it's helped me so much in the past few years to really develop a meditation practice. And everybody is different, so everyone's going to have different reactions to different types of meditations. I love guided imagery meditations. There's also progressive muscle relaxation meditations if you want to incorporate more of the physicality of your body. Or if you want just a simple breathing meditation, there's so many different apps out there. I will put some links in the description below so you can check out some meditation resources. There's also spiritually guided meditations as well. So if you are more of a spiritual person and you want something that's more of a guided healing meditation, go for it. Just do something that really suits your needs and wants and gives you that reprieve from ruminations and overwhelming emotions. My second self-care tip would be to practice some form of yoga. Yoga not only helps you cope with stress, it increases your flexibility, your endurance, and it's really going to change also the way your mind behaves to emotions, because it's a form of mindfulness. It's a form of meditation. Yoga often incorporates that kind of mindfulness that's also in meditation. So it has that added benefit, of course, of strengthening your body, but it's also strengthening your mind and strengthening a more proactive and positive response to those overwhelming emotions that you're struggling with. And there's so many different types of yoga out there that I have no doubt that you will find one that really speaks to you. I myself enjoy hatha yoga, but you might enjoy hot yoga. It really depends on you. And if you do have problems with the poses in yoga, I really recommend finding a center that will cater to your needs, that will take your needs into account. And yoga does have modified poses for people who struggle with, pain in their body parts. And so I really recommend, again, speaking personally with your yoga instructor, if you have one, and really discussing if you have any ailments that might prevent you from doing yoga. But yoga and also Pilates, really helpful to the healing process. And if you can make it a weekly routine, daily routine, even better. It's going to have so many benefits for your mind and body that you will just be so much less reactive to things. And that's something that you're going to need in the aftermath of trauma or abuse. And so the third self-care tip that I would also recommend is incorporating a form of exercise. Exercise obviously releases endorphins. And after we've been through kind of that hellish chemical cocktail of emotions, that nightmare of trauma or an abusive relationship, the highs and lows, our body gets addicted to these hormones and chemicals that are just coming up throughout the different phases of that abusive, addictive cycle. And so when we're exercising, we're really releasing endorphins in a much, much more healthy way, and we become addicted more so to the rush of taking care of ourselves rather than destroying ourselves through a toxic relationship. So I really recommend doing a form of exercise that speaks to you, that makes it fun for you. I really love dance cardio, so that motivates me more to go to a dance cardio class because it's so pleasurable for me personally. Now, if you hate running on the treadmill, don't run on the treadmill. Do something else. Do something that will get your heart running, but also make it fun for you. Whether it's a sport, whether it's dance cardio, whether it's ballet, it doesn't really matter what you do. As long as you love to do it, incorporate that into your weekly or daily routine. You can start out small, but just stick to that routine. And I really recommend it, and it's going to help you so much. The fourth self-care tip that I would want to share with you all is that you have to have a daily schedule. What I mean by this is that, you don't have to have your whole day planned out for you every day, but you should have some rewarding activities along with whatever work that you do in order to give yourself this reward system. So maybe it's going out to dinner with a friend. Maybe it's watching a comedy show. And of course, laughter also has a lot of health benefits. So I recommend finding excuses to laugh. Read funny stories, watch live comedy, or watch stand-up on television, watch funny movies. Do things that are really pleasurable and create that daily routine that's going to award your reward system, because that's going to get you into the habit of living for yourself and enjoying life and being mindful of what's going on in life, in your own life, and away from all that negative self-talk. And that's actually related to my next self-care point, which is that you should definitely develop a system of positive affirmations or mantras that are going to help reprogram your subconscious. Now, since most of our behavior is driven by our subconscious, which means that we're not even aware of sometimes of why we do the things we do until we start to re-examine ourselves and our behavior, we're not aware that all our negative self-talk, which has been programmed into us from childhood, actually, from early infancy, and shaped by our early childhood experiences, can really sabotage our attempts for self-improvement and a happy life. And so positive affirmations do that important subconscious work of reprogramming and ingraining more healthier thinking patterns. And I really recommend affirmations tailored to your specific self-defeating thoughts. So if you have a self-defeating thought that's constantly victim blaming, perhaps you blame yourself for the abuse or trauma you've suffered, I really recommend a mantra like, I love and approve of myself. What happened to me was not my fault. And usually they say don't make positive affirmations negative, so don't say not or no. But I would just keep that in mind, that what you're saying is I approve of myself, I love myself fully, I accept my mistakes. Just keep that in mind, that you're basically telling yourself that it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you were abused. It's not your fault that you were traumatized. If you have insecurities about your intelligence, your appearance, perhaps your aptitude in something, maybe you have insecurities in relationships, I really recommend mantras and positive affirmations that are tailored to that. So you might say something like, I'm brilliant, or I'm beautiful, or I'm cherished. I'm very talented, I'm accomplished, things of that nature. If you've been told a lot in your toxic relationship or from the trauma in your past that you were worthless, make sure you incorporate statements of worthiness, of being loved, of being secure, knowing your worth, knowing your talents, knowing your accomplishments, and make sure you try to make it a daily routine, because these positive affirmations need to be reinforced over and over and over again. And only then can you start to reprogram your brain and your mindset from this negative self-defeating pattern and into a very positive, proactive, and almost what I call fighter mode. You're basically saying, I'm going to reprogram myself to accomplish my goals. And again, since most of our behavior is driven subconsciously, that's going to do a lot of the work for you in changing some of the behavioral patterns that you've been wanting to change. One of the people that I would recommend for affirmations, I do have a new blog post that's catered to abuse survivors, especially narcissistic abuse survivors, on my blog, which I'll provide the link to. But one person that I really found helpful when it came to my own affirmation work was Louise Hay. She is a self-help powerhouse, so I'm sure you've heard of her in some context, and whatever you think of her philosophies, I swear to you that her affirmations do work, and they are very powerful. You just have to have faith in yourself, and you really just have to commit to a practice of doing them and tailoring them to your particular needs and wants. And one of the books that I'm reading now actually is called Heart Thoughts by Louise Hay. Ooh, can you see it? It's a beautifully illustrated book, and you can start out with this if you want, but I actually recommend looking her up on YouTube because she has a lot of affirmation videos, some of them which are actually narrated by her, and these are audiobooks that she's done, and it's incredibly, incredibly important. Find a video that speaks to you. If you find a video that you think is too cheesy or too cliche, then don't do it if you don't have faith in the work, but definitely, I feel like you will find at least one video that speaks to you in that time. Again, it's all about tailoring that process to you. Tailor those positive affirmations and mantras to your particular needs and wants. Everyone has different insecurities. Everyone's been through different types of trauma and abuse, and there's going to be different wounds for each survivor to heal. So cater those positive affirmations and mantras to you. My last self-care tip is limit social media. Now, this might not apply to you if you're not an active social media user, but social media gets us to compare ourselves and our lives with everybody else's all the time. And it's a way that we reinforce our own negative self-talk. We are always telling ourselves, well, I'm not as pretty as this person, or I'm not as accomplished, or that person has such a happy relationship. Why can't I have that happy relationship? Or you might even be tempted to break no contact with your abusive or toxic ex-partner if you have been looking them up on social media, which I do not recommend. But I know that in the early stages, in the aftermath of a narcissistically abusive relationship, you will definitely be tempted to, because of all of their mind games, and you are so addicted to them. And so I think it's really important to limit your social media. If you have a lot of apps on your phone, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, try to delete them off your phone, literally, so that the only way you can access them is through your computer. And that way, at least, you'll carve out a space in the day where you're just focusing on your own work, you're focusing on your day, you're being more mindful of everything that's going around you. And there's going to be some pleasurable moments that you might be missing when you're glued to your phone. So I know that a lot of you might use social media for work. I do as well. I have all of these social media platforms that I use, but lately it's just been so draining, and especially with the amount of cyberbullying and trolling that's out there, it can be very stressful. So make sure you delete some of those apps, limit your time on social media, make it a habit to carve out spaces in time where you're not attached to your phone, where you're not checking anything, you're just taking out time for yourself, engaging in those distracting, pleasurable activities that are going to reward your behavioral system. And so that way you look forward to the day and you are refocusing on yourself and not comparing yourself to other people or their lives. So I hope these self-care tips have been helpful for you. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more, and I'm planning to do a part 2 of this video. But I really think those are some of the key components of the self-care regimen that I would recommend for survivors of abuse or trauma. I also recommend, if you haven't done it already, make sure you get a journal and write in it, and really record the process of everything, your thoughts, your emotions. Create a safe space for yourself to really vent about everything that's going on. And a lot of trauma survivors find it helpful in combination with writing to do art therapy. And so whether it's drawing on a sketch pad or painting a whole canvas, rechannel all of those emotions, all of those thoughts, and put it onto the page, whether it's through writing a story, writing a poem, writing a journal entry about your day, whether it could be even, honestly, like if you want to draw stick figures, go ahead. Just, do something that speaks to you. If you want to paint an entire landscape, it doesn't matter. As long as you're expressing yourself, this is not for other people. This is for you. So keep it for you. This is a safe space for you to create, for you to rechannel all those emotions that are bottled up inside of you. And music therapy can also help as well. Combine all of those modalities together. Be artistic, be creative. And I hope to talk to you soon. I hope this video has helped you. If you want more self-care tips, I recommend you check out my book. It's called The Smart Girl's Guide to Self-Care, and it's available on Kindle and in print. And you can look it up on Amazon. I'll provide a link in the description below. And it has a lot more tips, and it goes more in depth about the mental health benefits of some of the techniques that I've been talking about. And it has a lot of helpful online links as well. So you can check that out, and check me out on Facebook at Self Care Haven, Twitter at Self Care Haven, Instagram Self Care Warrior, and check out my blog, selfcarehaven.wordpress.com. I will be sharing that new blog entry link with you in the description below. And subscribe to my channel, Self Care Haven, so that I can continue to make more videos for you and that you can get updated on that. I will be writing a new book on narcissistic abuse and narcissism, and I will be sure to let you know on the progress of that when it comes out. So I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Make sure that you follow the tips that I've described, or if you already know them, then make sure that it reinforces what you already know, and get started on those positive affirmations, because that negative self-talk will only bring you down further, and we really want to bring you up. This experience can be made to empower you. It's all about how you channel it. Remember, the best revenge is a life lived well. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and until then, take care.